In the history of MotoGP, rivalries have fueled the drama, passion, and emotion of the sport. But few have ever reached the level of intensity, controversy, and sheer spectacle as the fierce battle between two of the sport's greatest icons, Valentino Rossi and Marc Marquez. Valentino Rossi is a legend whose charisma and unmatched skill made him the face of MotoGP for over 2 decades. Multiple world championships, unforgettable battles, and a connection with fans that turned him into a global superstar. Then came Marc Marquez, the fearless young Spaniard who burst onto the scene in 2013. Aggressive, daring, and unbelievably fast, Marquez rewrote the rules of how to race a MotoGP bike. His meteoric rise was both thrilling and threatening, especially to the reigning king, Rossi. The 2015 MotoGP season was the turning point. Rossi, chasing what could have been his 10th world title, found himself in a tense fight against Jorge Lorenzo. But in the shadows, another rivalry was brewing, between Rossi and Marquez. Sepang. October 25, 2015. A race that would change MotoGP history forever. On lap 7, Rossi and Marquez clashed on track, a battle of inches, overtakes, and aggressive moves. Then came the moment that shocked the world. Rossi was penalized for allegedly kicking Marquez, sending the Spaniard off the racing line. Rossi insisted Marquez had been deliberately slowing him down to help Lorenzo win the championship. The aftermath was explosive. Accusations flew in both directions. Rossi accused Marquez of playing dirty games, while Marquez insisted he was simply racing hard. The penalty pushed Rossi to start the final race from the back of the grid, ending his title hopes. From that day forward, their relationship never recovered. On-track battles between Rossi and Marquez were charged with tension. There were moments of brilliance, but the underlying hostility remained. 3 years later, in Argentina, the rivalry reignited. A collision between the two saw Rossi crash out, calling Marquez dangerous and claiming he had no respect for his rivals. Marquez apologized, but the damage, both to the race and their relationship, was already done. As the seasons passed, Rossi's career entered its twilight, while Marquez battled his own challenges with injury. But the memories of those clashes, the drama, and the electric atmosphere they created still echo through MotoGP history. Some rivalries end with a handshake. This one didn't. Valentino Rossi and Marc Marquez may forever be remembered not just for their incredible talent, but for a rivalry that divided fans, defined an era, and reminded the world that in racing, the fight is as much about pride as it is about points. Marc Marquez was asked about the possibility of making peace with Valentino Rossi. This is how the 8-time world champion responded. The relationship between Valentino Rossi and Marc Marquez has yet to improve. Even though Rossi no longer competes in MotoGP, their rivalry still lingers. For example, when Marquez won at Mugello, he was heavily booed by the crowd. But Marquez didn't bother about it. According to him, those who booed were not true MotoGP fans. There is still hope for repairing their relationship. However, in an interview with DAZN, the 8-time world champion said it cannot come from just one side. When something doesn't depend entirely on one person, you can't say, "No, I'm not interested," Marquez said, as quoted by Crash. Previously, the idea of Rossi and Marquez reconciling had been voiced by Ducati boss Davide Tardozzi. Both Marquez and Rossi, he said, should shake hands and end their feud. Moreover, Tardozzi also urged fans to move on from the events of 2015. "I think unsportsmanlike behavior can no longer be justified when it's related to something that happened 10 years ago. It's time to forget the past and look forward, especially for Marc and Valentino, so they can send a positive message," said Tardozzi. On the other hand, with his move to the Ducati factory team, Marquez is now closer to matching Valentino Rossi's 7 Premier Class world titles. However, Rossi's record of 89 victories still remains difficult to catch. If you don't want to miss the latest MotoGP 2025 news, like and subscribe to this channel for upcoming updates.